Hello and welcome back to the Perception Podcast, where we just see things a little bit differently. As you probably well know by now, I'm Dan, your host, and this week's been a little bit weird for me. I started off by attending 2 fancy university masterclasses, which if you ask me is just terrifying in and of itself. And I missed not 1, not 2, but 3 days of school. And some of you may be sitting there thinking that just sounds like an easy week, but to me that just gives me so much extra stress that I just don't need. Have I missed loads of important work? Did something happen while I was off? Am I going to come back to an assessment that I know nothing about? I just don't know, and that lack of control really frustrates me. I think it's fair to say that I have complete infatuation with routine. It may be boring, but it means you know exactly what's going to happen. And this is helpful because a lot of my anxiety comes from the fear of the unknown. And it doesn't help being a philosophy student because it constantly means that I sit there asking myself questions that I know will just freak me out. So today, I was sitting here thinking about what I could cover this week. And I thought, well, my whole week's been completely out of sync. And that's throwing me through a bit of a loop, both physically and mentally, so I thought I'd just share it on here and see if anybody else had any similar experiences. Firstly, I thought I'd just kind of cover what my daily routine kind of consists of at the minute, just so you can kind of get a grasp. I've said kind of 3 times in the space of 10 seconds, for Christ's sake, Dan. So that you can get a grasp of like the extreme nature of my like routines on a daily basis and how I keep saying narcissistic, and my mum brought me up on that when we had that podcast with her, but how I like have that desire to just be in control at all times, and how it even goes past my consciousness, and how it's just like me intrinsically as a person. I have that desire, whether it be through my special needs, my thing that affects my mental health and stuff like that, like anxiety and stuff. I just constantly need to be in control. So I thought I thought it'd be a little bit of a like fun little exercise if I just kind of ran through my daily routine just to see if like yours was similar, or just so you could see like the extremity of somebody that obsesses over things, like how the disparity in it really. So to get started, I always wake up tired, and that's nobody else's fault but mine. I'm such a procrastinator that I normally have to do my A-level work from the night before, or homework that I just have. Not that I've not forgotten to do, that just I completely haven't been asked to do, really, if I'm being completely honest. And I just have to get it done that morning because I've got it first period and it just needs to be done. So I've normally wake up with a couple of hours sleep because I've done it till 5 a.m. that night, or I wake up at like 5:30 a.m. so I can get it done like sharpish. So I wake up, I'm like dozy and all over the place because I'm absolutely shattered. And the thing is with having a physical disability, when you wake up, I don't know if anybody else is similar, but especially with my legs, because it's obviously focusing on my legs, I wake up and it's just like I've been in an all-night rave around the town. Like, my legs are just completely wobbly, I look so drunk, and I just basically laugh at myself, really, because it's nothing that I can control. Like, I can't go, right, time to walk normally, and it's just like, it's fine. It's funny when I wake up, to be honest. I'm all over the place, and it just kind of cheers me up in the morning. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit off topic, as I'm prone to do, but I wake up, I go to the bathroom, which any normal person does. That does seem pretty normal. But then I go to the loo, obviously, after being asleep. I wash my hands. This is the first little weird bit. I brush my teeth, and then I wash my hands, as I say. And basically with this is I have a specific amount of like pumps that I need to do on the hand, not sanitizer, but why have I forgotten what that's called? Basically soap thing. My head's just gone today. I don't know why, but yeah, I basically have to have a specified amount of that for some reason. And then literally on the towels, everybody's got towels. I literally have to go, right, put my hands on the towels, wipe, turn them around, do the backs, wipe, and then put the fronts on again and wipe. It's just so weird. Stuff like that I have to do every single day at a specific time, and might give you an insight into like how even myself, how I have to control myself like to a specific schedule. Otherwise, my brain just goes into chaos. And I know that might sound something like such a trivial thing. And quite ridiculous, which is specifically why I've used that example, is because if I don't do that in a day, I feel weird, I feel off, and it's not right. That day just doesn't feel, not real, but do you know what I mean? That's my schedule, that's my routine, and that's how fixated my head is on this, even subconsciously. Like, I'm not thinking about this while I'm doing it, it's just part of my routine at this point. And so, say this is like a school day, I will then get ready for school really slowly, have a go at my mum for something that she's not even done, or have a go at my little brother because I'm just angry to be up. I'm the worst morning person in the world, and I'm happy to admit that. It's just not my thing. Mornings are the worst time to talk to me, to find me, to ask me about something, because even if you're saying, Dan, you're great, the response that you'll get is, shut up, I'm tired, F off. And I know that might not sound like me, like the way I'm talking to you guys on here, but that is literally the response you'll get from me in the morning. So I slowly get ready for school, make sure I've got everything, check my keys, check my phone, I've got like a checklist in my head. Any normal person has that. Maybe mine's a bit more extensive than everybody else's, but I'm sure all of you out there will have some sort of thing that is like that. I'm getting way too in depth here. But anyway, then I wait for my transport because I get transport to school because my mum works in a school, so obviously because of my difficulties, I can't get there myself. So I get transport. Maybe I'll talk about my experiences with transport or like not having that social interaction on the way to school. Maybe I'll talk about that in the future with a guest or something like that. Maybe. But anyway, I get transport. I wait for transport. They ring the bell. I always have to wait until the bell has, when you ring a bell, I don't know if everybody listening to this will, but when they ring the bell, I have to wait until the bell has stopped completely, until I can even start going out to them. I get my crutches, I get my lunch, I get my bag, and I go out on the way to school, get to school, have my first lessons, and then it's break. I then have to have a Coke for break. I then normally have a couple of oranges or my mum insists that I call them clementines, but any normal person will call them oranges. I'm sure they're oranges, but she insists on me calling them clementines. Just for her, I'm going to call them that here. But so yeah, I have my break. I then do the rest of my lessons. You get how school works. My lunch, I have to have another Coke. If you didn't know, Coke, why am I saying Coke? Coke is like, I just did it again. I guess that's how I say it. Coke's like water to me. I've never liked water. I'm starting to like it a bit more, but water's just never been my thing. I'm a person, as I've said before, I'm an extreme person, and if I'm having to fill myself up, like trying to be a little bit healthier, as I discussed last week, it has to have a bit of flavour. So water to me is my worst enemy. It always has been, and for somebody that suffers with migraines, this is not a good combination at all. Because any doctor in the world will tell you when you're having any sort of health issue, migraine, even my legs, when I'm a bit out of breath from walking my legs, have water. I always say, no, I actually hate water, just give me a Coke. So I've had my 2 Cokes, had my lunch, gone back to class, and I just quickly want to say here, an important thing about class, and an important thing that I want to talk about social isolation, as I've already mentioned in the future as well, is in class, normally they have like a set seat plan, but especially in A-level, they're much less strict with that, so they always just say, alright, pick a seat, not sit next to your mates, but just sit where you want. Do you know what I mean? Sit next to the people you think you're going to work well with. I always sit in the back, in the corner, because I just prefer to work on my own. And whether that comes from not being socially confident or, just, that's the only reason I can really put to it. Not being socially confident, both with my peers and like answering questions to the teacher. I'd much rather just shy away into the corner and kind of hide and just get on the work, get it done, and know that I've done it to a good standard. Like, when the teacher says, right, it's time for teamwork, it's not called teamwork, when they ask you to work with each other, that's like my worst nightmare. I'm like, I don't know if they're just going to get me to do all the work. I don't really know this person that well, I don't want to talk to them. Like, obviously, the people that have been in my form for years, I'm obviously a bit more comfortable with talking, but even they know me pretty well. They know that I'm awkward. Like, I know them quite well, and I'm still awkward with them because the only people that I really am completely comfortable with are my family, as I've said before, and it's just, I've just really just thought about that as I'm going through this, just how maybe that routine of going and sitting in the back of the class, getting on my own work, could be caused by social isolation, if I can even say it. And I think that's actually something, like, not cool, but interesting to think about. And I've only just actually thought of that myself as I'm going through it. So yeah, I do the rest of my lessons, I get back in transport, I come home, and obviously I have the normal routine that everybody has of taking not taking their clothes off, that just sounds like I just then sit in the nude for the rest of the day, but like, take my belt off, stuff like that, take my shoes off, obviously. Then I literally, and this is probably why I'm such a big procrastinator and why I don't get things done, and this isn't an overreaction either, I will always have homework every day at least an hour's worth, that I should just go, right, it's 3:30 now. It's normally 4 by the time I get in, but it's 4 now. If I do this for an hour, it would be 5, and I'll have the whole rest of the night to myself. Do I do that? Absolutely not. I get home, I have to go on my laptop, my computer, my Xbox, anything to make me not think about the work that I've just done, because I'm absolutely exhausted. And that's my routine when I get home, really. It's, I go on YouTube videos, I watch that, I find the next one, I watch that, or I go on FIFA on the Xbox, I play a game, or I do something for the podcast. I just want to fill my brain with stuff that's not school, because I've either been embarrassed that day or feel like I've been embarrassed socially because I'm really socially inept, or at least I think so, and that probably causes some of it. But or I've had a bad test score, or it's just been really tiring and I just don't want to think about it. So now I wait for my mum to get in from school, because she gets in a bit later than me. And as soon as she comes in, the first 3 questions that I'm sure she'll back up, that I always say to her, what are we having for dinner? Like, did you go to the shops on the way home? And then the third thing, which probably should be the first thing, is, did you have a good day? And that's not just, at least I don't think it's me being a nasty person. That's not me consciously going, I don't care about you. You're my mum, but I don't care about you at all. Did you get me food? That's me, subconsciously going, food is my priority, and not even considering the fact that this is a person that I'm talking to. And then halfway through saying, like, what, did you get anything for dinner? I then realise myself, my actual personality. My personality then switches on from the like robotic machinery that, I don't know, autism or just mental health in general can cause. That robotic tendency just fulfill my checklist that I've got in my head, and actually go, oh my god, this is a person. I should ask how the day's gone and all that. So she comes in the door. I have that weird 3 list of questions, and then I just go back. I go back and sit on YouTube, and I still don't do any work. Then, later in the night, we've had dinner and stuff. My little brother goes to bed, and I always then come out, not with a family like any normal person would. Then I always come out and I go, right, mum, even though it's now 10 p.m. at night, we're both shattered. Now let's watch the TV. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why I've done that. I always have done that, and it's just something in my head that's gone, right, my little brother's asleep, now time to watch TV. And even though I'm shattered and I probably should be getting on with the work that I had set that day, or even if a miracle has happened and I've caught up with the work and I've actually been good for once and I've actually sorted it out and I've got nothing outstanding, should actually go to bed, like, should actually get a good night's sleep. No, I go, let me watch some TV. I watch the TV till God knows what time in the morning. My mum falls asleep because she's just shattered, and I'm still watching the TV. And then the time that I actually think about going to sleep myself is about 2-3 a.m. And then I think, oh God, I've still got work to do, or oh God, I forgot to watch this YouTube video, or I forgot to do this thing for the podcast, or whatever it might be. I just always find an excuse to stay awake, because whether that's because I'm more fearful of going to sleep that day, because I've got a bit of trouble going to sleep. Do you know, just every facet of my life, my brain just finds a way of going, right, this is something you're going to struggle with. And then it just seems like everything I cover, I'm just moaning. But it's a fact. I do struggle with these things. I'm not a perfect person in the slightest, and I do struggle with a lot of things that I'm trying to get better at. And this is like an outlet that I'm trying to use to get better at some of them. But anyway, because I find sleep quite difficult, I always just want to try and stay awake. And on a school night, this can be really detrimental. And this routine that I kind of have of just like going on screen constantly to try and escape from embarrassment, social isolation, anxiety, depression, sleep anxiety, all these things that I tend to have challenges with on a daily basis. I just constantly throw into YouTube or the internet or something like that, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of them, just that I don't have to think about anymore. And you can see how this routine that I kind of have in my head can be, as I say, just really detrimental. I honestly don't know if any of this, if this just seems like absolute jumble, if this seems way too in depth or anything like that. I'll just say here, I'm not a professional podcaster. I've just started this. I don't know really what the best form of episode is to do. I'm just trying to try a lot of different things right now, more conversational based, stuff with guests, stuff that's a little bit short. I'm just trying to throw it out there and see what kind of is the preference of the audience. But yeah, just remember that I'm not a professional at this, and if it seems to drag a little bit, then you could always skip forward and stuff, because yeah, as I say, I just don't know. And if anything, it'd be really helpful for you to go, yeah, this is what I enjoy, this is what I like, this is what I found beneficial out of it. So I can go, right, I'll kind of stress that bit, or I emphasize that bit, or I spend the majority of the episode talking about that bit. Because sitting here, I know I do ramble a lot, and I know I do talk about really ineffectual things quite often, but that's just me as a person, and that's my inner, I guess, anxiety about conversation comes out, because I'm just like, I'm not sure how to put this succinctly, so I'm just going to say every little bit of information I have in my head possible, so that there's no dead air, because that'd be awkward, or it doesn't get boring or anything like that. So yeah, that's just my inner personality shining through yet again. Woohoo, great. But yeah, so the routine that I have in my head, as I say, can be quite detrimental, because it's just draining, really. It means that I don't have a healthy balance with school and home life with my family. It means that I don't have a healthy relationship with home and school, because I always then think of school as an afterthought. I always think of school as this kind of task that I have to do, rather than doing it when I'm more, not fresh, because nobody's fresh after a day of work, a day of school, anything like that, but more fresh than I am at like 3 a.m. in the morning. And it just creates these really nasty relationships in my head with these really important things. And then I kind of make myself a bomb. I kind of leave all these things to the last minute, and I go, right, I haven't maybe got this person a birthday present, or I haven't said how much I value this person in my life, like relationship wise or family wise, in a while, or I haven't done this schoolwork, and it all just comes to me at one point in time, and then that just presses on my mental health even more, and it kind of envelops me even more, and then makes me want to escape even more. So it's this fish. I don't know if really that came out that well, but what I'm trying to get at is it's this vicious, not vicious. It's this unfortunate. That's the word. It's this unfortunate cycle that I drive myself into, because I enjoy video games and because I enjoy YouTube, but I just indulge in them a bit too much, that create this almost like separate reality for myself, where I just don't really have to think about anything. I think that because it creates a separate reality, it's damaging to my real world relationships and the stuff that's important to me. I've never revised for any tests that I've done, and that's not meant to be kind of gloating anyway. Like I haven't revised and I still passed. Like, it's not meant to be like that anyway. It's actually really bad, because it means that if I had revised for any of the assessments that I would have had, I would have got much better grades. You know what I mean? It means that I don't really think about how my actions often can affect others until I've done them, because I'm just, as I say, I'm just thinking about everything as an afterthought, whereas thinking, this thing is actually important, and the thing that's kind of temporary and the thing that's insubstantial in my life, I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of like not worthless, but doesn't really have any. It's artificial, is what I'm trying to say. It's a materialistic thing. It's the YouTube, and it's the FIFA, and is the Instagram and Twitter and all that them things. They're artificial escapes. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of make them the priority. I kind of make the escape the priority, rather than living in the moment, trying to sort things out, trying to live through things, and trying to plan my life. My organisational skills are absolutely awful, and for somebody that is obsessive with routine, that is obsessive with, I need to control everything, you'd think my organisation would be on point. You'd think, because I kind of have this mental OCD over things, that my life would just be in order, but it's the complete opposite. Because I put so much strain on things, it means that they can fall apart a lot easier, and that applies to all parts of my life, relationships, school, work can get on top of me really easily. I can get really frustrated when I'm playing games. You know what I mean? When I'm playing with my little brother who's 8 years old, I can get really frustrated because he accidentally did something that he didn't even know about, like stuff like that. Because I put that extra strain and extreme behaviour on things, it just means they can fall apart so much more easily. And even talking about it, you can probably hear how all over the place this kind of sounds, and how second guessing I am through my language. You can even see like the helicopter brain that I've kind of developed, and how I have to like know exactly what I'm saying. Like it's pretty obvious, but this bit is not scripted, and you can just tell how my brain's like freaking out a little bit, because it's like, oh, if it's not completely perfect, then it's not going to be good. But that's kind of what I want this to be. I want this to be like kind of a conversational thing where people might not listen to it all the way through. They might just listen to the first minute. They might find it really boring. But for the people that it does help, I just want it to be not professional, not okay. We're doing this topic today. These are all the million facts in the world. These are this is the debate topic about it. This is what a million different the top journalists have talked about it. And here's my 30-second opinion on it. I want it to be 90% opinion. I want it to be 90% experience. And then hopefully in the future, I want people sharing their own experiences, so I can go, oh, this not a normal person, but this is an ordinary person, and this is how I differ to them. Or this is somebody that's maybe got Asperger's, and this is how I differ to them. Or this is somebody that's got all sorts of different issues, maybe just a physical disability, and how that can impede them, and stuff like that. I just want to open the conversation, really. I don't want it to be this kind of business transactional thing where I'm just not monetarily, where I'm just going, right, this is the episode, this is what I'm talking about, and now it's done. Do you know what I mean? I want to be able to ramble, and I want to be able to be myself, and hopefully that comes across. I didn't even mean to go into that little bit there, but there you go. There's my constant need for justification and acceptance, I guess. And just sitting there, I thought I'd close off this like conversational bit by just stressing the importance of how routine could be so easily mismanaged and misconceived, if that's even a word. Like, God, my vocabulary's just gone out of the window today. But how routine is so important with things like organisation and kind of making sure that you have time for things, you have time for work, you have time for break, and that's a balance. But at the same time, not to become a machine. Do you know what I mean? Because that sometimes that's how I feel. I feel like the Dan, the real Dan, kind of gets pushed to the back burner, and this kind of machine like Terminator-like person who's this, because I can be rude, I can be a little shit sometimes. I'm a teenager, I'm a 17-year-old. I'm not allowed to do it, but it's acceptable. Do you know what I mean? You can forgive and forget, and that's just normal teenager behaviour. I'd still take responsibility. It's still bad behaviour, but what I'm trying to say is you would expect that from a teenager. I've just knocked my mic, sorry if you heard that through the audio. But then I feel like that Dan, that's a little bit bad, but mostly a good person in general, gets kind of pushed to the back burner for whether it be the kind of lazy side because my legs are hurting that day, or whether it be the really autistic side where I have like maybe a sensory reaction to something that maybe the other Dan wouldn't have, and I wasn't even expecting myself, but my body's just reacted in a weird way because it's just subconscious. Do you know what I mean? You can't control the way your own brain works sometimes, and then I feel like there's this kind of third Dan that sometimes takes us over. I think it's not my least favourite Dan because obviously like the aggressive arsehole Dan is the only way I can put it, is I'd say is the worst Dan. But there's this also other Dan that kind of takes over, that is kind of like this machine and just has to do things because he feels like he has to do them, or he feels like if he doesn't do certain things then somehow this will lead to him spontaneously combusting because he's convinced himself that that's going to happen that day, or that something drastic's going to happen that day that's going to completely change his life. And this is why philosophy does not help kids that already have severe anxiety. And this is why probably you should advise yourself, if you have severe anxiety, do not do philosophy, psychology, do not do the mental sciences, because it will just mess with your head. That is already not wrong, but unbalanced, definitely in certain ways, and I can even admit that myself. It is not helpful for your brain space to have a positive brain space, to then be going, oh, there's that thing that I didn't know about before, that they're creating a black hole in Switzerland. That's a new anxiety that I really need. Do you know what I mean? Like something like that. Just things to think about, extra things to think about, where it's just like, I really didn't need that with what I'm going through at the minute. But anyway, this machine, Dan, that kind of takes over, I just really don't like it, because it just feels like it's not me. And often in social situations, this machine, Dan, can take over and put up the brick wall that just doesn't let me make any connections with people that I don't know. Or it can happen in situations where I feel embarrassed, or anything. You kind of get the picture. Any situations like that. And I don't feel enough of the time that people get to listen and see and just experience, really. Not that I'm all that, but just the real me. And I feel like if people got to see that, then maybe not everyone would like me. Not everyone would get on with me, but just then I'd know that I'm putting the real me out there. And if people don't like that, then fair enough. But what's annoying right now is that sometimes I feel like this machine kind of takes over, this routine kind of takes over, where, oh, I can't possibly talk to that person because this might happen and all stuff like this. If I was just able to go, just bun the routine. I actually want to go try this. I want to try this new thing. I want to go eat, I eat sushi, but do you know what I mean? Something like that. I want to go bungee jump and just forget about the anxiety and the depression side of it, or the self-image side of it, or do you know, all these extra things, all these extra baggage that all come connected with routine and stuff like that. I would just love one day to just have an hour where it's just like, no, I just want to try this today. But obviously, mental health is not that easy. Physical health can be that easy. It's not always that easy, and I'm not trying to belittle it in any way. But physical health can definitely be that easy. I know with my legs at certain points, not all the time, but at certain points they go, oh, do this stretch 2 times a day and you will not need an operation. And then sometimes I've done them 2 stretches a day, and then sometimes I've been really lazy and I haven't, and I've had the operation because I deserved it, because I did not put the work in. But I tell you something, if there is something like that for mental health, I've not found it yet, and I definitely don't think there is like that for something for mental health. And that is really, really frustrating, because the routine that I kind of overwhelm myself with, the routine that I kind of suppress my own personality with, it impedes my life in so many more ways than physical disability ever could. And yeah, I just feel like just the freedom from that would be, you know, they always say, what would you ask a genie for? What would your 3 wishes be? The 16-year-old girls from the valleys in California would probably say, oh, world peace and stop world hunger and all stuff like that. And obviously, yes, utopia. I'm not Hitler at the end of the day. Obviously, I'm not against those things. But if I was being a little bit more selfish, one of them would definitely be just not forever, because the mental baggage is a part of me, and I think it makes me a stronger person, and it's something that definitely adds to my life experience and my character in general. But just to know, I think, what it would be like just to have a free personality would just not necessarily be something I would desire, something that would excite me. I just would be interested. I'd be fascinated to know what it's like to just not have this extra social, as I just keep saying, just like baggage, just like a chip on your shoulder that you can never remove, and that this routine kind of conforms you to. Right, we're approaching the half an hour stage, and I'm pretty sure that this episode has just been me sounding like I'm an art school student or a film school student, just completely hippie, off his head. But do you know, I'm quite happy with that, because that is definitely a part of me. Somebody who is definitely a bit liberal, definitely thinks like that some of the time, not all the time, but some of the time. And yeah, sometimes my brain just goes into these kind of stream of conscious thought scenarios, and I'm not going to edit this. I'm not going to do this again. I think this is quite interesting to see. And as I say, if this isn't for you, fair enough. I completely get it. I'm not sure if I'd want to listen to myself ramble for 40 minutes. But if this is just something to have in the background, something to if you're sitting there alone in the pandemic, just feel like you're having a conversation with somebody, even if you don't agree with it. Just put your ideas in the comments, put your ideas wherever they're possible, put them on Facebook, put them on the Facebook page when I advertise that the episode's coming out. I'd love to have the discussion, and I think I kind of created this subconsciously to break away from my routine a bit, throw something out there that just what isn't the conventional traditional me, that is just too scared to do anything. And is always looking to go the traditional routes, education, university, degree. This is just something creative. I'm not a creative person. I'm not good at arts. I'm alright at singing, but I'm definitely nowhere near good enough to like make a career out of it. And like stuff like that. I'm awful at drama because I'm too shy. But stuff like that. But I think I've kind of created this as kind of my voice, even if nobody listens to, for myself, to break away from that routine and just to put myself out there a bit more, so people understand that the person that they sometimes see, I kind of want this to go to the people that maybe don't know me that well, and so, some of the people that maybe have met me once and go, yeah, that's just Dan. He's not very social. He's really introverted. He keeps to himself. He's very aloof. That's what I've heard a lot. He's very aloof. I kind of want it to go to them people, just to know that I have actually got a brain. I do think for myself, and it's quite a weird brain. It's definitely out there, and I definitely have some weird thoughts. I'm sure my mum and dad will tell you that my ideas of UK geography are a bit all over the place. Yeah, I'm sure if you ask them, they'll have some interesting responses to that. But yeah, just that. I think I just created this to break away from that routine, as I keep saying. I know I repeat myself about 100 times, but I think it's been good for me. You know, I think it just sitting here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, trying to put this together. At the end of a busy week, at the end of a bloody stressful week, just trying to sit here, talk about life, talk about how I've been affected by certain things, and possibly finding out that one or two of you have really benefited from it, or have really encouraging me to keep going with it, because they think that it's a good thing to do, even if nobody's listening now. In the future, people can look back on this. Do you know what I mean? It's a body of work at the end of the day. Yeah, I just really appreciate it, and it's something to break away from the mental constraints that I put on myself. I think that's always really important to do. Routine is a fantastic thing for academic things. It's a fantastic thing for 1 + 2 = 3, but it's not a fantastic thing for 1 + 2 = 3, and I suddenly feel anxiety. Do you know what I mean? That rhyme didn't mean it to. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is, I don't know why I'm trying to be cryptic with it, but it's good for the straightforward things, but it's not so good for trying to figure the mental, the psychological side of it out. And the question that I wanted to ask this week, I normally do it quite generally, something that's going on with the world, something that everybody could apply to. And I think people could apply to this, kind of address it to themselves. But I've kind of addressed this week's question to myself, really, and just asked myself where I think this routine kind of emerged from. And I've touched on this a little bit during this episode, but I kind of wanted to get into it a bit more because it's quite interesting. I've never really sat and thought about it myself. I think the routine that I've kind of created has originated from the fact that I always kind of describe myself as Sheldon. If you ever seen The Big Bang Theory, he often does things because he never really had a social life when he was younger. And he never really understood what it meant to be sarcastic, what it meant to have an imagination, what it meant to, you get the point. I'm sure a lot of you have watched The Big Bang Theory. I always describe myself as Sheldon because I often do things, and I overstep the mark in a number of ways, whether it be I've taken a joke too far, I've not understood something and been adamant and stubborn that I have, something like that. I think this routine's kind of emerged from there a little bit, and I'm sure people with some of the same stuff as me might have done similar things. When you don't understand something and when you don't comprehend something, and when it's such a big part of your life as social interaction is, when you don't understand relationships fully at being a teenager, when you should by now, when you should have a firm grasp on it, when you've got the emotional intellect and experience of a 5-year-old at 17 years old sitting here, do you know what I mean? That's when you kind of retreat into your own cocoon, do you know what I mean? That's when you retreat into this kind of routine and stability that you know you'll be safe in, that you know that whatever you do, you'll still have that kind of security blanket because you know that you can't be wrong there and you can't be told off for doing that, or you can't be seen as different if you just then don't do anything, or if you just stick to this routine that you've created that you know nothing bad will happen from because it never has done in the past. But yeah, I think that's just a really interesting thought to kind of leave it on, or at least I think so. I might be completely delusional. This might have been a complete waste of time, but you know, that's the fun of stuff like this. That's just fun of creativity because it's not as black and white as the rest of the bloody world can be sometimes. It's not as awful as the world can be sometimes. So yeah, I think that's where the fun and enjoyment can often come from. But my challenge to a lot of you out there is, whether you suffer with mental health or even if you don't, just kind of to look at your life really. Sorry if you can hear my cat eating in the corner there. For some reason, when I start recording these things, that is where everybody in the house starts to emerge and talk and make noise, and the cat feels like eating and scratching her scratching pose. This is the best time to do it. But you know, that's the world. That's what I'm talking about. That's the black and white of the world, and that's the not the black and white of the world. Actually, that's the little kind of spots of it. That's the spots of spontaneity that can actually lead to more enjoyment and a bit of a laugh and a bit of, God, yeah, it's not perfect, but you might still enjoy it, and you might still find something useful out of something that seems like it's a bit rough around the edges. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me get on to my actual point and stop talking about my cat and stop going off on tangents. And my challenge is to you listening out there, if you are listening, if you do have mental health or if you don't, and even if you have gotten to this bit, I really do appreciate if you have, because I know this one's been a bit of a drag. Just to assess your life really, as I've said, and assess whether the things that you do that are not physical, like the things that you do that you don't have to do, like you have to go to work, you have to do certain things, the things that you do in your brain subconsciously, like routine like me, or like escaping into certain things, whether they're necessary for you to do to go, yes, I need a break, whether they're necessary for you to go, yes, I do need a bit of an escapism because life's pretty shit at the moment, or whether that they're actually more detrimental to you than you're realising, and more detrimental to your well-being than you're realising, because it's become this subconscious kind of trend in your life, this subconscious pattern that you've got into, and whether it would be actually more effective to go, no, I'm gonna make a change, and I'm gonna start breaking my routine and start breaking that pattern to try and get some personal freedom back and to get some positive control over my life again. And who knows, most of your routines out there could be positive. They could be a great organisational help in your life. They could be positive to your life. But I know, looking at my routine just today, just going over it today in this podcast, looking over it a bit more, I've realised how all the little things that I do throughout the day can negatively affect my mood, which then lead to me negatively affecting other people's mood around me. And then it just causes a chain of events, a spiral of events that you didn't even intend to happen. But yeah, I think that could be a really interesting thing to think about. If you could leave a comment or something like that, just to see if you thought about it, see if you've pondered it even a little bit, whether you think you could make a change that could possibly help you, or you've realised something really, not maybe off me saying it, but just having a look at your routine and just seeing all the different little things you do in a day. I think I found it really fascinating. So yeah, just I don't even challenge you. I would encourage you to give it a go. But yeah, I think that is kind of the natural, this episode's kind of naturally coming to an end here. I think this one's been good. I think it's been a bit all over the place, but that's me at the end of the day, and it just shows how this has provided a bit of a kind of freedom from my normality, bit from my extreme routine. I feel like I'm on a show of extreme couponing at the minute. I need to rein it in a little bit. But as always, remember to share and download. I think on the streaming services for podcasts, you can still see after this many weeks how much of an amateur I am at this. But I do know this though: like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. That one I always know. That one I'm an expert at by now because I'm a YouTube connoisseur to the fullest extreme. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this one. I'm still in the works of trying to get a guest on in the next couple of weeks. That is down to my absolutely awful organisational skills, as I've talked about loads throughout this episode. So yeah, I know I've kind of teased it. I don't know what the right word is, but teased that one for a little while. But it is coming, I can assure you that. But yeah, that's just my very, very, very poor planning and having a lot to do in a very short space of time. But yeah, I think that's it. I've enjoyed this one. Hopefully, even if you skip through it, listen to it at 2 times speed, you've gotten something out of this, because that is the main goal behind all these sorts of things. Thanks as always for the support. Any little bit of encouragement can go a long way, not even just to me, to just anybody in life. Remember that, give them a compliment, throw a bit of love out there in the universe. I sound like a hippie once again, but you know, who's listening by the end of this, so hopefully nobody can call me out on it in the future. I am a bit of a hippie when it comes down to it. I just try to act like I'm not. I'm getting way off into a tangent again. That's the end of this episode though. I hope to speak to you guys very, very soon. But for now, I think that is bye.